Welcome to the Adult Basic Skills Professional Development video series. Throughout our productions, we are committed to excellence in adult education and professional development in basic skills instruction. The goal of this video series is to improve the effectiveness and quality of instruction through focused professional development.
My name is Jennifer Williams. Welcome to English as a Second Language in the Workplace. This video is designed to provide guidance in the process of planning instruction and teaching non-native English speakers for success in the American economic culture. First, we will consider the process of performing a needs analysis. Second, we will look at developing the curriculum and what might be included in the learning package. Third, we will consider the elements of lesson planning and learner-centered classrooms. Fourth, we will discuss assessment and how it should be contributed to the learning process. As instructors of English as a Second Language, ESL, we must remember that language and culture will mix in our classrooms daily. A student's native culture meshes with their new culture both inside and outside of the workplace. It is important to celebrate this process. Realize that many countries, while sharing the same language, have diverse customs and unique cultures. Pelivan Associates, a federally funded research organization specializing in professional development, has identified 4 major components of successful workplace programs. First, there should be a systematic analysis of on-the-job literacy requirements. Second, workers should be actively involved in determining the types of tasks they must perform and the literacy levels necessary. Third, all stakeholders should be actively involved in planning, designing, and operating classes. Fourth, the instructors should be compensated for the development of instructional materials related to literacy skills required. The first step in planning any basic skills program is conducting a needs analysis which considers student, employer, and instructor needs.
It is very important that initially, after being contacted by the workplace, or if you by chance contact them first, it's important that the program coordinator, the workplace supervisors, and our management sit down and discuss, first of all, what is it that the workplace would like to have the student to do. Once we have been able to determine what the mission is of the industry, what is that the industry wants from the community college, beyond that point, then we will need to then start to search out the instructor that will be able to best fit it for that class.
A plant may not have time to devote to giving me a lot of information. So what I try to do with the instructors is go into the plant and try to get as much information in a quick and dirty way.
When we begin the teaching process, we have an interview with the principals from the company, and they basically lay out what they want us to cover. We take a tour of the plant, we see the machinery that they work with, and we see what they do, and then we try to tailor at least some of our teaching to specifically those jobs.
We didn't so much go in and say, you know, we want you to teach XYZ, but the expectation being that whatever your format for teaching, we would like our associates to be able to walk away from that class and read a policy or be able to understand a safety procedure.
For an instructor to set up a ESL program in the workplace, I think it would really help the instructor to go out into the workplace, see what the work is all about, observe people in the workplace, observe the culture in the workplace. We certainly have a different culture here than a plant across the street that makes perfume. I think that the better the instructor understands both the students and the company itself and what it's trying to do, it can only make that instructor do a better job.
The needs analysis is an excellent tool for developing materials, resources, curriculum for the actual class, because with the needs analysis, the students and or the employer is directly letting us know what needs to be met, whether it's pronunciation and intonation and rhythm and language strategy needs.
Doctor, quick.
Yeah, the doctor, quick.
Get back.
Get back.
We may think in terms of computer labs.
Yes. One.
On another hand, they need survival skills. They need to know how to go to the restaurant and order. They need to learn how to go to the doctor and fill out their health insurance forms. Because of their needs, we are able to really focus on exactly what they need, and we can develop and gather our materials and resources from what the students and the employers are telling us.
Usually employers will tell us we want employees to know the contents of a technical manual, and they'll put the technical manual in your hands and expect you to verbatim teach them the technical manual. We find that that doesn't work, because often the language of the technical manual is formal and it's of course written and doesn't reflect the spoken and informal language of the front lines. And so what we try to do is get them to understand it is very important for us to talk to frontline supervisors and plant managers, and to try to talk to workers who are communicating with our students, to make sure that we are teaching exactly the language that they're going to need day by day.
When they got here, they didn't know nothing. And after they came here, they know a couple of words now. They understand it more and more. Like, you hang around people that speak English, they understand more and more. Right? Because a lot of times, some guys over there in the back, they don't know English either. They would come over here and ask me, I need you to come over here and explain to him so-and-so and different things. So I have to go in and explain to them in Spanish. If they would understand English, the supervisor could right there explain to them, talk to them right face to face.
Very time efficient for someone who can speak English. He can go ahead and get the job done. He don't need someone over top of him that can speak Spanish. Less time I have to sit there and explain something to them, they pick up on it right away and they can go ahead and do their job. I can do my job.
One workplace may be in construction, one may be in roofing, one may be in networking systems. So each workplace is different, and because of that reason, our curriculum and our goals and objectives are going to be different.
After collecting all the necessary information, it is time to reconcile the data into a usable form. Combine the information gathered from supervisors, workers, and other stakeholders with personal observations. Then prepare a list that prioritizes the skills needed on the job. Write objectives to reflect these skills. Develop rubrics containing criteria specifying acceptable levels of performance. Only now can one begin the process of curriculum development.
A workplace program is not the canned generic ABE. It's more job specific. The instructor has to deal with a wide variety of people. They have to be able to handle supervisors. Many times you're pulling these people from the floor, and supervisors may resent the fact that they're losing some help the last 2 hours of the shift. The workplace instructor has to be able to develop curriculum. It's a tough job.
When I first went to the class and I realized the first day how much equipment they had, I talked to the supervisor and I said, I need a man with a harness because I need the names of the parts. If not the actual equipment, then a facsimile or a picture or something. And before I went on my second tour, which was actually where they strapped me into a harness, I had to talk to the training supervisor. He came to my class and brought several pieces of equipment with him.
Developing a curriculum can be very interesting work, primarily because teachers have to be very resourceful, very creative, and have to be very good listeners.
They would come to me and say, we had this meeting and we got a form but we're not sure what everything on the form was. So, I mean, I didn't mean to put myself in a position as liaison, but who better, because I'm able to take the form and put it up on an overhead or put it up in my classroom or sample some of the questions.
Each employer is very different. Some employers would prefer to limit the curriculum development to what they consider to be their bottom line needs.
If we're dealing with construction materials, tools and stuff like that, I think they should more dwell on the concept of what you're using on the job.
We often have to dialogue with the managers in the workplace to let them know the importance of considering all of the needs of the student when we develop our curriculum.
I think the workers want to learn to speak English, not all mainly for the company, the good of the company, but for good of them. They understand they're in a different world here, so to speak. They've got to learn how to speak our language or they're not going to make it.
I teach them a lot of slang, a lot of colloquialisms that normally would not be taught in ESL class, whether it be how to tell the time, how to get directions somewhere, whether it be, how to flirt with a woman. Because of the cultural differences, there are certain things that are acceptable and others that are not acceptable. And if they don't know the differences, they can find themselves in trouble.
When we start off, the companies are interested in the very basic safety, like don't touch that, or watch out, it might explode, or how do I get to the bathroom, or I need a day off, and basic expressions like that. And then they realize through the success of the student that their safety and their well-being extends out into the community, and as time goes by, they have all wanted to expand the program to include safety in the community, because a good, safe employee with a family that can function in society is a better employee, and he's out of work less and make more money.
Since they are in the United States, it's essential that they be able to communicate if they were to have an emergency at home and need to call 911 or in just regular everyday to day living type situations. Internally, I think it's essential not only for safety reasons, should there be a fire drill or other such emergencies, but also for opportunities. We by no means want people to be limited to one function, and by learning English, they're able to not only communicate with their other associates, but they're able to express themselves and move on to other opportunities within the company.
I went to school in Mexico and I finished the college and I got my degree as executive secretary. When I came here to USA, I couldn't work as a secretary because, of course, I couldn't speak, I couldn't write, I couldn't have a communication. When I was working in the production floor in my plant, I wasn't happy with that, Why am I doing this? I didn't go to the school for doing this, I have to make the progress.
English as a second language in the workplace can open doors for these students, opportunities for them in supervisory positions, managerial positions, and sometimes just a higher salary.
One issue that we often encounter is the question of, is your instructor bilingual? I have found that some of our best instructors are not bilingual and use English only in the class. However, getting the employer to accept that is difficult.
Our classes are 98% Hispanic. We need teachers who speak Spanish. That we debated that initially. Yeah. I didn't think it was worth debating, but I didn't control the teachers. And the point that was made is, no, we teach English. We're not here teaching Spanish. We teach English, and we can take all different languages together and teach them English. That's what we're about.
Recently, we had the employer come into the class because he was in fact so doubtful that our teacher who did not speak Spanish would be able to do an effective job.
Ms. North
Okay. No.
Door and the right.
On the
Two
right.
doors. How far does she walk?
Let's put the right. Let's put the right and
She walked 5 blocks.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This
Stop.
Stop. Where are you?
Stop.
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 Where are you? Will stop.
Where are you?
Right and back.
Okay, good.
After sitting in on the class for one time, he was totally convinced that yes, you can teach English without making it bilingual.
When the associates first come on board, we do have a translator present so that they can interpret for the benefits information and even basic policy information.
When I was working at the worksite at the arena, my class was completely Spanish speaking, so I was able to use Spanish more to help them understand the language, which really, really made a big difference with that class because they might have been lost otherwise. The level was such that they understood maybe about 5 to 10% English.
Seems to me, especially in the beginning classes, when they can't hardly say yes or no in English, that it would help to have the teacher be able to speak Spanish, to say, in Spanish we say this, in English we say this, and now let's practice that. But if the teacher can't speak Spanish and is only standing there speaking English with a very primary class, it seems to me a whole lot of it is going over their heads.
One thing we've learned with the ESL classes is the importance of the employer providing some incentive. Monetary incentive works best.
Everyone in the class is getting paid an hour and they're giving an hour.
It may seem as though having the class there after work is such a gift that people would flock to it and come regularly. In reality, the people coming to the class are probably giving up something, whether it's time on a second job, time with family. They're giving up something.
By no means are they forced into the classes. It's a free will type thing. The schedule is provided. They know when the professor will be here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's a free will opportunity. But those associates who have come to the classes and have learned parts of the English language are going on to other opportunities. The other associates see their opportunities and see that they are advancing, and then they want to come to the classes and also learn.
Something needs to be built in, because not every ESL class that we've set up in a workplace succeeds. Some fail after only a few sessions. They just sort of fall apart after we put in a lot of effort. And the reason they fall apart has always been lack of incentive to the workers to come to class.
I think the students need incentive to be there aside from just learning English. Several of my locations provide a meal, pizza at night when the students arrive, so that it's a very informal atmosphere, and they also reward them with certificates of completion, recognition for a job well done at company meetings, and things of this sort.
A well-developed curriculum familiarizes the ESL learners with performance evaluation and the company's system of rewards and recognition. Student workers also benefit from sessions on the meaning of a valued employee, why training is needed, and the career opportunities that could result from mastering English and learning about the business beyond the immediate job. There are possibly other items that should be included in the ESL workplace curriculum. However, the 6 generic topics presented here provide a solid foundation. Communication skills, following directions, taking instructions, cross-cultural factors, company organization and culture, training. The SCANS Commission identified 3 foundation skills needed for solid workplace performance. These skills need to be considered when writing an ESL workplace curriculum. The 3 foundation levels are basic skills, higher order intellectual skills, motivational or character traits. While it is necessary to curriculum as completely as possible, the course content is not fully determined until the course is actually underway and the instructor has come to know the students. Lesson planning and learner-centered classrooms. Lessons are planned around objectives that reflect the needed curriculum. They are specific and narrow enough that they can be achieved in one class session. The students should be able to leave each class performing one new linguistic skill. For instance, an objective may be for the learner to be able to use the telephone to call in ill. The next aspect of lesson planning is to include activities that build on the skills and strengths that workers already have to teach the objective successfully. Teachers and learners collaborate as equal partners in the learning process. Lessons may focus on specific jobs, but must also be developed so the learner develops the critical understanding necessary to apply knowledge to an evolving and continuously changing environment. They must develop the tools to think, reason, question, and search out facts. This participatory education not only strengthens them in their present positions, but prepares workers for advancement.
A well-planned lesson has to have a focus that is important to the students.
Normally drugs, you're going to find it, you're going to find the sign that says use only as directed. If the doctor say only twice a day, only twice a day.
It is really important that the students understand that what they are learning is of importance to their work or to their lives.
My lesson plans are more designed around their desires than my choices. I ask students, what kind of information do you think is going to be useful to you when you walk out of here? That's a specific question. But I ask them in general, what do you want to learn about English? Or if you could do something in English, what would it be? And I get answers like, I want to tell jokes. Anything goes. I take that information and I try to find the mechanics, grammar that fits the situation, and I also try to find conversation skill exercises that will fit the situations that my students have suggested to me.
Having a history lesson about Paul Revere, for example, is not student-centered, because how is that going to help them in the construction field or in the networking field? It's not going to help them. So we really must focus and do needs analysis from our students weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever works for the instructor.
I always include my students. I get their feedback throughout. I say, this is what we're going to learn today. A, B, C, D, E. We go over it, we review it, and then I come back at the end of that and I say, was that good for you, or would you like to do something else? Do you feel like you need more exercise? Do you want something more in depth, or did I put you to sleep today?
Sometimes it is hard for the students who come from various cultural backgrounds to actually let you know what they want, because they feel that as the instructor, they have a lot of respect for you, and they feel that they certainly do not want to tell you how to teach the class.
Has to be able to feel comfortable enough with the instructor to be able to say, I'm not understanding this. And it helps if that instructor has a sense of humor, if that instructor gets along well with the students, because then that communication is free-flowing.
There was one request made by the professor that someone come in to discuss slang terms, different slang terms of different ethnic groups. And that one was a little different, because you really don't know how to approach it, because you're not sure, who do you call on for that type of thing.
I think a well-planned lesson incorporates something that the students, first of all, are interested in learning. Second, it is diverse enough so that the beginning students and the advanced students can have some interest in it and participate in it on different levels. And it includes a lot of repetition and encouragement to use what they're learning as they learn it. In other words, speak up in class.
I thought if I don't know exactly the pronunciation of this word, I better don't say it, because maybe they will make fun of me, and I was kind of shy and I didn't say the word. But Soon I found out that that wasn't progress. I was keeping all the words in myself. I wasn't using them.
A big part of learning English is you have to overcome the fear of saying things wrong.
Explode.
It can explode.
It might blow up.
It might blow up.
You have to listen to the way that you speak. Hear what you're saying.
I can't breathe.
And if you're too afraid or too timid to say the word out loud, even if it comes out wrong, you're never going to know that you're saying it wrong.
On the one hand, the instructor has to be able to motivate the students that come to class, but they also have to practice some flexibility, because sometimes students are working very long, taxing hours, and they're not going to always be there. And they're going to be sometimes our students come to the instructor and want the lesson plan for the day and say, I can't come to class today. I've worked 12 hours and I need to go home to sleep.
The learner-centered classroom can be identified by following 4 characteristics. First, working together, instructors and learners define classroom dynamics and direction. Second, problem-solving activities dominate the curricula. Activities include role-playing, work situations, analyzing the pros and cons of a decision, and explaining how to perform a particular task. Third, instructors assume the roles of facilitator, moderator, coach, project manager, and especially partner in learning. Fourth, instructors set the stage for learners to experiment with language, interact with each other, and process meaningful discourse. A learner-centered classroom is the most effective environment for ESL learners, so we will take a look at some of its instructional strategies. Many ESL learners have a conservative, traditional idea of what education is supposed to be. They think that one can only learn with paper and pencils. Creative ideas are not welcome. The instructor must help them understand that they can learn in many different ways. Class reflections help students make this transition in their thinking. Probably the most obvious strategy is to use the language used on the job in the classroom.
Be careful.
Be careful.
Burn.
Burn.
Caution.
Caution.
Discuss subjects relevant to the learner.
Get a doctor quick.
Get a doctor quick.
Add new vocabulary at opportune times so the new word meaning is learned naturally.
Books are sold here.
Group work is especially effective in the ESL classroom. Groups may be as small as 2 to 3 students, or they may be as large as the whole class. When engaged in group activities, students help and interact with one another. The interaction within the safe confines of the classroom encourages the use of language. It encourages proper pronunciation and proper sentence structure. Using group work not only helps learners acquire language in a meaningful context, but it also sets the stage for teamwork in the workplace. Because language is not used in isolation, it should not be taught in isolation. Using the whole language approach helps the ESL student to integrate the skills of viewing, listening, speaking, reading, writing, and reasoning into the larger skill of effective communication. The whole language approach for ESL students is the natural way to learn. It is the way we learned our first language. It is the way we should learn our second language. Perhaps the next strategy is the most difficult for an instructor of adult students. Tucking away the red marker and infusing grammar into the learning process only after language is internalized. Let the adult ESL learner discover the formal rules as the language becomes a natural part of life. Infuse grammar throughout the learning process through modeling, repeating corrected statements in response to questions, and reading aloud to students. If language is necessary for success on the job, then learners need to learn the culture of the workplace. Understanding expectations, expressions, and body language can create a less frightening environment for an ESL worker. In this day and age of accountability, instructors stress the meaning of tested objectives. This is fine. However, it is important that learning extend beyond a score on a test. For this reason, the last strategy discussed in this video is extremely important in the ESL classroom. No instructional program is complete until assessment is complete. Assessing is as much a part of teaching as instruction. It actually begins at the beginning when needs assessments are conducted and analyzed as the basis for establishing program goals and objectives. These goals and objectives serve as the foundation of the curriculum, the selection of strategies, and the criteria for the summative evaluation.
With the Workforce Investment Act, the new legislation coming down this year, it's going to be very important that we have a standardized reporting instrument, even though we all realize the limits of standardized tests and their uses.
Assessment for our students is handled in a number of ways. Wake Tech uses the best test to get a placement score. That has two forms, a B and a C. We sometimes use it as a post-test if the class has been going on for quite some time.
Standardized tests have got to be part of the program, along with informal assessments, anecdotal evidence, teacher-made tests, informal reading inventories. All those things we can use, but we're going to have a standardized test to report.
We do encourage teachers to do ongoing non-formal assessment, and they do, through talking with supervisors, talking with the students in class, asking questions about how things are going in class.
You know, tests are a part of education and learning. We've all had to put up with them. And I think it really depends on how the teacher sells the test.
In many cases, teachers use a journal for students to write in, where they answer questions like, what English was used on the job recently? What questions do you have about English to use at work? The journal, I think, has been a nice assessment piece in some classes.
The standardized tests, I think, are important when funding questions are going to be coming to the fore. They're talking about performance-based funding, and one of only, I think, 3 measures they're going to use for progress would be progress on standardized tests.
The company itself hasn't instituted that they be at a certain level because the success will be proven not only here but abroad when they're at home or at the grocery store or wherever they should be, and they're needing to learn or needing to communicate with someone.
We don't have a test or anything to, make sure they're learning English, but we can certainly tell in meetings when they start speaking up, asking questions, and even coming in the afternoons when they, tell you hello, good afternoon instead of hola.
I've got 2 Hispanics working for me right now that have been going to the class. And you can tell every time they come from that class, they'll come right to you in their face and they will try to speak English to you. And it is getting very good the way I can understand, very good.
Employers must know that students can perform job tasks. Students, instructors, and employers can note progress over time. According to the Workforce Investment Act, program effectiveness will be measured in terms of pay raises and job advancements. Finally, the program as a whole must be evaluated. Formative evaluations are conducted continuously throughout the program by all stakeholders. Classrooms are visited, students and instructors interviewed, and materials reviewed. Changes are made as needed. Questions are posed such as, does the program reflect the objectives? Are the instructional materials appropriate and adequate? Are workplace needs being met? Are learner needs being met? At the end of the class, at a given time, or at the end of funding, a summative program evaluation is conducted by a third impartial party. The evaluator analyzes all quantitative and qualitative data from stakeholders. A final report containing charts, graphs, matrices, and summaries will be submitted to the funding agencies. Working with ESL students in the workplace is a two-sided coin. Yet both language development and job skills are equally important. This video provides guidance in the process of designing and planning instruction for non-native English speakers who are filling jobs in the American workplace.